Hello learners, in continuation with the second lecture, so in this last leg of my lecture series, I will continue to tell you about Indian sociologists and their main works, and then ultimately I will conclude by summarizing the contents of my lecture series, including the first part and the second part. So coming to the work of G.S. Ghurye. G.S. Ghurye is very largely known for his work on the theory of caste system. His renowned book is called Caste and Race in India, which was published in 1932. And then we have the Scheduled Tribes, published in 1963. Indian Social Structure and Change, published in 1961. So in his book Caste and Race in India, it mainly explores the complex caste system in India and its historical evolution. And he concludes with the analysis of the interplay of caste with race and its implications for social structure. In Indian Social Structure and Change, he examines the various aspects of social change in India, including the impact of modernization on traditional social structures. Coming to the theoretical perspectives that Ghurye has used, we can see traces of coming to the historical perspectives. Ghurye focuses on caste and social stratification and cultural analysis. His analysis of the caste system remains influential as he explores how caste functions as a system of social stratification and its impact on mobility and integration. He also emphasized on the role of culture in shaping social institutions and processes, arguing that understanding Indian society requires a deep appreciation of its cultural context. So, as I had mentioned in the last session of my lecture, that this founding fathers of Indian sociology were mainly focusing on the classical literature and religious books of Indian culture, and mainly they uses the Indological approach until M.N. Srinivas came. So coming back to Indian sociologists and their works, A.R. Desai is another very renowned and influential sociologist. His main works include Social Background of Indian Nationalism and Rural Sociology in India. So in his book on social background of Indian nationalism, he examines the socio-economic conditions and factors that influences the Indian nationalist movement. It provides insights into the relationship between socio-economic structures and political movements. So this book, Social Background of Indian Nationalism, is the PhD thesis of Desai, and he has published that in the form of a book which is easily available in every bookstore. And another important contribution is Rural Sociology in India. In this, he analyzes the structure of Indian society, including issues related to agrarian change, social stratification, and the impact of development programs on rural communities. So I just want to state out that the works of these sociologists were very, very much important and influential, especially during that time when had just received independence in 1947, and after that every Indian thinkers wanted to focus on development of Indian society, and hence studying Indian society and writing something about Indian society was very, very much needed and very, very important during that particular period of time. And no doubt, as I had mentioned in the last session in my lecture, that the Britishers also had studied about the Indian society. The British administrators had also conducted studies on Indian society, and those documents continues to provide us about evidences and continue to tell us about Indian society. So another important Indian sociologist, M.N. Srinivas. So M.N. Srinivas, if you had read anything on Indian society and research, so Srinivas' name will immediately pop up because he is known for the concept of Sanskritization, which was before Brahmanization. So after certain point of time, he came to realize that it's better to call it Sanskritization rather than Brahmanization because of the caste mobility that he found among the lower caste to be part of the twice born caste. So in this concept of Sanskritization, this is basically a concept which focuses on the process in which a lower caste seeks upward mobility by adopting the practices and beliefs of the twice born caste. He also introduced the concept of Westernization, which refers to the influence of Western culture and ideas of Indian society. And as I had already mentioned, field work is very much popularized by um, Srinivas. His major work on religion and society among the Kurks of South India and social change in modern India are very, very much renowned and relevant till today. M.N. Srinivas also focused on modernization and social change, where he examined how traditional Indian society was undergoing changes due to various factors, including modernization and globalization. His analysis often highlighted the dynamic nature of social structures and the adaptability of Indian society. So through all these works, we can see a current theme that is flowing through. That is, they mostly studied about the changes that were taking place in the Indian society. Coming to another renowned scholars, S.C. Dubey and Leela Dubey. S.C. Dubey's research focused on the processes of social change and development in Indian society. He was particularly interested in how traditional societies adapt to modernization and the impact of developmental cities and the impact of development policies on rural areas. His major works include caste and social structure. Through this, S.C. Dubey provided significant insights into the complexities of caste systems in India and how they intersect with other social structures. He explored the dynamics of caste-based mobility and change and how caste interacts with other factors like class and modernization. Coming to the contribution of Leela Dubey, who is the wife of S.C. Dubey. Her work focuses on gender studies, family, and kinship. So I would like to point out here is that the work of Leela Dubey was very instrumental during that time, and she was one of the earliest Indian sociologists who focuses on women and one of the earliest Indian sociologists who focuses on gender studies, specifically on women issues. Leela Dubey is particularly known for her work on gender roles and women's status in Indian society. She examined how traditional gender norms and practices influence women's lives and how they were changing in the context of modernization and development. She had also worked on family and kinship, where she provides insights into family structures and kinship patterns in India. She explored how these structures adapt to social change and the impact of factors such as migration, economic development, and legal reforms. So from all these works, as I had mentioned before and now as well, I want to point out again that they mostly studied about the social structure of Indian society and also the various types of changes touching upon the rural society, including the agrarian system. So before I summarize my lecture series, I just want to point out regarding the present focus of sociology research in India today. So mostly when we talk about sociology, focuses are placed on social inequality and caste dynamics, gender studies, urbanization and rural transformation, development of globalization, social movements and political sociology, education and social change, health and well-being, religion and secularism, migration and diaspora studies, environment and sustainability. And no doubt, according to the NEP 2020 also, things like interdisciplinary approaches and studies on science and technology or technology and social media has become a very much demanding areas of sociological studies today. So to summarize my whole lecture on origin and development of sociology in Europe and India, it is evident that philosophical ideas about history and evolution played a significant role in shaping sociology in Europe as well as in India. Key thinkers like Auguste Comte emphasized the need for a scientific approach to understand society. Surveys of social conditions complemented these ideas, offering empirical evidence for theoretical frameworks. Intellectual movements laid the groundwork for sociology as a distinct academic discipline. And in addition, as sociologists, we need to always look at the social phenomena in the context of the social structure of every society. By this, I mean that if we want to study certain aspect of the Indian society or the Western society, we ought to always remember the nature of social structure which is there in India, and also which is there. As sociologists, we need to always give focus to the nature of social structure that are evident in every society. The social structure, the nature of social structure in India. With this, I conclude my lecture series on origin and development of sociology in Europe and India. Thank you all.